Alrighty then, so I guess we'll be doing a recording on Myanmar. We'll see if you accept it. Let's see the physical landscape. Um, let's see the physical landscape of Myanmar. It's divided into five physical regions: the Northern Mountains, the Western Range, um, the Eastern Plateau, Central Basin slash lowlands, and the coastal plains. I believe most people live towards the Central Basin lowlands. I believe it's mainly like hills and stuff is like that where agriculture booms. Um, let's see what else was there. Yeah. So, um, something about the physical regions that affect culture. I would say that mainly because of the idea that everyone's into agriculture due to the high density of population in the dry zone, where they thrive on agriculture. So, you know, there's that. Um, few historical events that affected the culture. Um, the main one is the overthrow of the government in 1962. I believe that's what I wrote, 1962. And also in um, just recently, actually, of the military takeover of their government. Um, it's it slowed down their production and everything, so is in a frenzy. Economics as it has shaped the culture. Well, the economics is mainly agriculture because of how many people live in rural areas, and that is only being helped out with the idea of the UN and I believe their own government to allow them to have more water storage. Um, they did have some oils that they were getting from their lands. Uh, they didn't have much going in the from the sea where they're trying to drill. They are, I know they're a good export of natural gas, um, and they are the number one country in the world of methamphetamines and other illegal substances, but it's mainly methamphetamine, so like, painkillers and stuff like that. Um, economics, no, I just did that one. Social geography. Um, social, what one was the social? I believe I go over that with demographic. I'll just go with the demographic trends. Demographic trends of Myanmar. It's half of their population is below 30 years old, and uh, yeah, they have low birth rates, um, but they are having an increase in age where they're living above 60 years old. So who knows where that's going to go? But for the time being, more than a quarter of their population is below the ages of 15. Um, the belief systems in Myanmar, the major one is Buddhism, which is 90% of the population. Uh, then there's Christianity and Islam at the bottom. Um, let's see, rural trends. We already talked about that. It's mainly agriculture, which is rice. Urban trends. Unfortunately, Myanmar hasn't been able to pick up on the um, increasing its urbanization due to the lack of education it is for uh, expanding was it, their job sectors because they don't really have a lot of people that graduated from college within Myanmar due to the military regime from 1962 all the way to like the 80s, and just recently again. Uh, but they do have I'm not sure if it's clothing, but it's different where they use for it, where they produce a lot of clothing, in which they actually produce, billions of dollars for. Um, politics, again, only those that affect culture. Like I said, military takeover, you know, has put a kind of a strain with everyone around them. Usually, when this happens, Myanmar really closes off their gates with everyone. Um, I know they share a 1,300-mile border with China, and you know, with that, I believe that's when they started first getting their Buddhism from 69 AD. And let's see, important connections with other countries. Well, China, you know, they've always had that whole entire exchange. And plus, because they're a strong opioid manufacturing site, they've kind of like shipped that throughout the whole entire world. Um, and let's see here, some of the group questions. And I've already watched my group's video. And let's see, compare all the cultures and note the similarities. Um, I think some of the similarities was that they were all at one point colonized um, by the British one way or another. And I know with Myanmar, it was, for their oil that they started expanding the operations. Contrast all the cultures and then note the differences. Um, well, I know with the Philippines and with Australia, they're more of a democratic nation, whereas Myanmar was military was well at first it was a what was it what you call it a oh, I had it written here somewhere. Mm, It was originally a parliamentary government. That's right, and then it was overthrown in 1962 again, and then they I believe in the 80s they handed over into like a kind of like a democratic state kind of thing, but military still pulled the strings in the background, and they lost this last election, and they kind of took it all back. Um, Comment on how the culture affects development or lack thereof. Well, because of the culture of the military and everything that was embedded within the people, um, they they were literally the least developed country in the world, is what I'm getting in the 80s, which is why they switched over their governments. So I believe that has a lot to do with how they couldn't really advance as much as everyone else, which and because of that, they didn't have a lot of colleges because they really wanted to control the people. Do belief systems cause a difference in development? Uh, Honestly, in my opinion, I believe they do. Mainly because of you get it in like the Middle East where you know or in other countries where Islam is like a major belief system, and I know at Islam, they don't really want women working a lot, so that kind of hampers their whole entire, development. So, really neutralize the that women from like helping develop and everything. Um, Topics and note how there are similarities or differences on how the culture developed the same or differently. Um, well, well, for one, Myanmar doesn't really have a huge urbanization like Australia does. The Philippines, I know they are urbanizing a little bit faster than Myanmar is, so they have that ahead of them. Uh, Demographic trends, the the idea that most of the population is below the age of 30 in Myanmar, I believe that happened. That's a big difference. Um, what else do I got here? Um, Economics is very different from all of theirs. I know because it's mainly agricultural rice, which is not highly profitable, but that's what they get for living in the dry zone where a quarter of their population lives. Um, Geopolitics, I mean, they don't share a border with China, so they're not heavily influenced on Chinese culture. Um, I don't I don't think Australia or the Philippines has had to deal with any type of military takeovers like Myanmar has. Um, Physical landscape completely different. I mean, it's Myanmar still located next to the sea, but it's not like in the middle of the ocean like the Philippines or Australia is. Um, the belief systems are totally different because the Philippines is mainly Catholic, whereas the Australians are Christian, but in Myanmar, mainly Buddhist. Uh, Physical landscape, I believe that's it. So yeah, that's it.